All right, welcome friends back to the draft. I am standing in today for my good friend Ryan, who's just feeling a little bit under it right now. So happy to take a step in. So I am Greg Mathern with Win the Race. I am joined here with our good friends Tino and Phil. And gentlemen, really quick, I guess we'll jump right back to last week. How did it treat y'all? How'd you do up in Dover?
Well, I'll start, Tino. Since
As you should.
as we'll probably get to, I'm the new leader in the clubhouse. But yeah, Dover. It was an interesting one, the way the race played out. But as far as like the draft, it worked out for me. My betting card did pretty well. So I was very, very happy. I saw Twitter, obviously, was fluctuating with the goods and the bads, but yeah, I mean, things worked out for me. We had, Toyota as an outright manufacturer. We had Briscoe top 10, Bowman top 10 midweek, and those numbers shifted as the weekend came along. So closing line value, to the moon. And I had a head-to-head that should have hit, which was Chastain over Busch, but obviously Chastain had a tire issue, but he was going to win that matchup too. So I can't even complain about that. I had a great week. It was something that, I would love to go to Dover next year. It's like an hour away from my house. And because, did so well, I think I might have to prioritize that. So hopefully you guys had a decent week as well.
Well, fair enough, Tino. Before I turn it to you, I'm going to point back to this because Phil, as you said, you took it home last week, and fairly well trounced my boy, and then kind of eked it out over Tino. So Phil put together a good little slate there last week. I think we kind of look back on that.
I'll say this, Greg, sorry to interrupt you, but I'll say this.
No.
If the race ended when the rain came, there's no way I'm the winner. And things kind of exploded after that. And, Briscoe is my wild card. Like he went from wherever he was to second, he almost won that race. So with the tire strategy and everything playing out. So yeah, thank you for the rain, I guess. And
yeah, no, I was gonna say you got some help with the rain there. Byron, having some issues there at the end. So that kind of taking out some for Ryan. So yeah, definitely the rain shook stuff up there at the end. So I'll cut back to that for you, Tino. I mean, like Phil said, he had a pretty good weekend on the card. How'd yours end up?
I had a great week as well. Could have been a little bit better, and I'll just go out and say that some of the props I was looking to hit. One was a Chase Elliott top 5. He finished 6th. Kyle Larson top 3. He finished 4th. But I will say, still ended up, on the good side of things, on the positive scale. So that is a good thing. It could have been much more good. It could have been great. Could have been almost perfect. And similar to how Phil was mentioning, the double overtimes, that's what costed me. I think from a draft side of things, maybe I would have had the win, although Byron and Bell getting together or getting into it after Bell spun took out Ryan, I thought. So I thought I was in a good position. And then Briscoe comes back once again for Phil. He's been Phil's guy. Chase Briscoe has, at least throughout this past stretch where Phil's been getting wins. Briscoe's been up there contending for wins. And it just seems like they've been working hand to hand to now give Phil the lead. That cannot be understated. Although I'm looking for revenge and on my comeback tour, Phil getting the lead in the point standings for the draft. I got to tip my cap. He started off as the guy in 3rd place and has worked his way all the way back. I'm very impressed by that. I told him most impressed comeback I've seen since 28-3. I don't know if we got any Pats fans in the chat or Falcons fans or anything like that, but I'm excited to get back after it. Indy is going to be a good one. One thing I want to know, since I'm talking about Dover as well, a couple storylines that I take away. Chase Elliott, when he had to start with good field position, started on the pole, right? He was able to stay there. I think that was a big key that I took away, especially as we go to Indy, where he was strong last year. Chase Briscoe, another driver where we give this, or at least I have given the 19 team a hard time in the past few years, especially James Small, right? When things haven't gone their way, I feel like that's been the case consistently for the 19 team. And it seems like now things are starting to go their way once again, whether it's with calls or drivers or strategies that they've used, it's given them chances to win races. And since I've been on them for like not having the right strategy or not having calls go their way in the past, I want to highlight the fact that they are going to sort of keep contending if they stay, up there, up front, and keep having these strategies go the right way. And the last one is Kyle Larson being back, if you will. I was going to be putting the world on notice if he had a poor performance at Dover. So the fact that he had a good one, what didn't hit my top 3 prop, but still a great day for them. I think that showed a lot that 5 team is still one of the best cars and the car to beat all season, even though Denny did get the win.
Yeah, I mean, Byron getting into Bell hurt me there at the end, right? I had some Byron top 3, top 5, and I thought that was close. Denny, cashed it for us over at Win the Race. I was on him early. We bet him live during the race, so we did well there. But I think your point on the 5 team, I expend that more to HMS as a whole, right? We often talk about them going on, kind of vacation for the summer a little bit. They pick up those wins early, and then in the summer, you're just like, where are these guys? They've got speed. Obviously, Larson won, here at Indy last year, but that didn't come without its own little bit of controversy. And so we do kind of see during the summer sometimes that just the HMS guys, they just kind of disappear. They don't have that full speed. And I think we saw it from the entire, team this week. They all had it there. So I think you can't kind of look at that Hendrick as like, oh, hey, where's that kind of summer going? So I think that is definitely, kind of a little bit of a new something to take a look at there and, just be aware of where they are. I think that was definitely very good to see for them. And, Denny won that race 3 times and cashed it for us. So we're happy with that over at Win the Race. So I think with that, we'll kind of head over. We are headed to Indianapolis, and Phil, I'll let you kind of talk us through it a little bit. What we got?
For sure. So we're going back to Indy, and when we do these rundowns, we're hoping that there's some new folks watching this for the first time, maybe not as familiar with NASCAR. I know a lot of you guys in the comment section know some of the stuff I'm going to mention already, but the Brickyard 400, I mean, it was a established race, potential crown jewel for a long time, and then they took a long break because COVID stepped in. They did a little Indy road course for a while. So last year was the first time they ran the Brickyard 400 since 2020. So that, can't be, mentioned enough as we're talking about trying to handicap this race from a gambling perspective and from the draft perspective, because we lost a lot of good data from these newer drivers because of that miss there. But this is a 2.5 mile flat, big track. A lot of high speeds, and I wrote down crown jewel still. Like, is it a crown jewel? Maybe that's something for you guys to comment on here in a second. But in the past, this race has a whole lot of hype. We need to kind of temper expectations a little bit. It's a little tough to pass, I think, what we found out last year, and it's kind of still that way. So as exciting as it is to be back at Indy, we need to be aware of that. But as far as track stats concerned, only 5 times in 28 races has the pole winner won the race. Last time it happened was Harvick in 2019. Starting inside the top 5, it's a 50% hit rate for the winners, and starting inside the top 10, 64% hit rate. So for anyone who doesn't really follow those numbers more closely, to me, that's telling us that usually we see, like, for top 10, 75, 80, 64 is a lower number. So really top 5 is, if you're not going to bet anything, that's a big deal. Wait till after qualifying, and the top 5 has a really good spot. And outside the top 20, I mean, you're kind of shitting bricks. Last time it happened was Tony Stewart in 2005. So manufacturer trends, Chevy won in the only next gen race here. Like I said, last year it was Kyle Larson who won that race. Ford had a good stretch before that. 3 in a row they ripped off. Toyota is 2 for 28. ever
Wow.
at this
Wow.
racetrack. So pretty wild. Something to consider. I mean, I'm a big manufacturer better, so in some books they're the favorite, and it's something to consider. It's a 3-day show. Practice on Friday, qualifying Saturday, race on Sunday at 2 p.m. Stages are 50, 50, and 60, so pretty equal, pretty close to equal. And I'm ready for it. I'm hoping we get some good action, and that's what we can look forward to on Sunday.
All right. Yeah, I mean, Phil, I'll just add to that, as you mentioned, perhaps tempering expectations. The average green flag run last year was under 17 laps. We had 10 cautions for so 167 lap race at the end of it, but last year with going into overtime, 34 caution laps. So, we ended up having, 13 green flag laps per run on average. It was it was a bit of a caution fest, which was definitely, I think we got to temper our expectations on that and be aware of it. Hopefully we'll see a little bit less of that this year, but man, it was tough. So, all right. So, I mean, I guess with that, we'll get right into it, and Phil with the line. I love it.
Phil, the boys want to know what you're drinking over there.
Little cab. It's called Bonanza. It's from Napa area, so it's a very, very economic bottle of wine, about $20.
Getting the boys hype in the chat.
Sonoma was a couple of weeks ago, Phil.
yeah.
I know. Vacation with my family though, it's 3:00 and the cooler's opening up, so and it's 7 days straight, so we're after it already.
Fair enough. We talked before the show. My lunch, I had to do a little bit of that, so I hear you. I'm with you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and grab the first pick on this one. I'll launch us into it. Standing in for Ryan, and we'll get ourselves moving into the draft itself. So we're gonna start with 2311. We're gonna make our picks. For those who don't know, each of us is gonna pick from the drivers for the teams, and we're going for the points, the NASCAR points as they run in the race. So 2311, I think this is, I think we're probably, I would guess, probably largely going the same way. I think there's some interesting things here. I'm going to say right off the bat, I'm going to take Tyler Reddick. I can't quit Tyler Reddick this year. And it kills me that I can't quit Tyler Reddick because I've lost so much money on this man. He is without a doubt my number one loser for 2025 in terms of just how he's hurt me. That said, when we go back and we look at all the stats on this, he in the Gen 7 has been absolutely dominant at these long flat tracks. All right. I mean, he has consistently, interestingly, hasn't won any of them. But if we look at his speed and we look at where he's running, when we look at, so I'm looking at Auto Club, I'm looking at Indy, I'm looking at Pocono. He's consistently in the top 5 all the time, and he's killing me on the money. We went back to the pool on him. We bet him top 5. We bet him top 3. So we'll just double down here and say he's there. His teammates, I think, we'll write off Herps for the most part. Bubba, I think, is good here. He's a definite, contender. But I think all things considered, we got to take Tyler Reddick on that one. So with that, Tino, I will give you the next one on this.
Sweet. Well, I appreciate it, and I agree with everything you mentioned there for Tyler Reddick. I'll be going with the same type of pick. I will say, Bubba Wallace, with him getting a 5th place finish in this race last year, does have me thinking he may be able to run up front. But if there's whenever these two drivers may be close, I have to go with my gut in terms of Tyler Reddick because of everything, because of all the reasons he's been losing us money this year, right? Like, we think he's going to be strong. We think he's going to finally pull a win out of his hat, just like we've seen with Chase Elliott and other drivers, where Ryan Blaney's another good instance of that. So I can't really get away from him, it feels like. But Bubba Wallace in this track has, at least with it being a 1 race sample size, I'm looking at maybe a just a one-off 5th place finish. But even if that's not the case, I think he could be a strong, option for a top 10 play, with Tyler Reddick also being more hit or miss than I would say Bubba has been this year. But I think that's also just what I've seen. And Brian also mentioning in the chat, Reddick had to punt Pocono after 23-11 brake problems. We've seen it all this year, and I appreciate going off that, everyone in the chat, Brian as well, saying he's celebrating NASCAR heading to San Diego. That was crazy news. And shout out to Brian there, because them going to San Diego is such an awesome thing. I know he's from around there, or lives around there, will be around there, and I hope to see him at the track as well from that standpoint there. Wyatt in the chat here, shout out to Wyatt, able to hit all on Toyota's prop at plus 180 last week. Love it there. King also in the chat saying he cashed a Ty Gibbs top 5 last week, locked him in as an outright this week at 19-1. Strong play. Team 54 better be excited about that one, as they're going for the in-season tournament championship as well. So just wanted to highlight those comments. Keep them coming in the chat. And yeah, Tyler Reddick for me as well this weekend.
All right, Phil, we getting anything different from you, or we stay in the course here?
Nothing different. So I just want to say, the sun's setting here. I'm just going to give you, I wanted this to be my background tonight, but the that's what I'm looking at, right? As I'm sitting here talking to you guys. And so what that tells me is I just got to keep it calm, right? I nice and calm. I'm not making any crazy decisions here early on. Tyler Reddick's the pick. And the thing about it is, these guys have no notes on this racetrack, and Tyler Reddick's team was awesome last year. Number 1 driver rating in that race. They led 40 laps, started on the pole, finished second, if anything. And the other thing about Tyler Reddick is, he was in a bit of a rut, I would say. And I think the road courses helped them kind of get back into it, but they've been doing pretty well the last month. And so now you're going to a track where not a lot of notes for a lot of these teams, and you were kick-ass last year. There's an opportunity to see, is a good case study for Tyler Reddick. Like what can they pull and what can they put together here, when you would imagine they've got a little bit of a head start compared to these other teams based off what they did last year. So Tyler Reddick, and I'll say this, Tino alluded to it, Bubba Wallace made this difficult this week for the first time in a while. Maybe we'll be talking about Bubba later. I don't know. We'll see.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, no, I was just going to add to that, Tino talking about Bubba. I mean, when we look at, the best comp that we have, and it's not a great comp, but it's the best that we've got. It's Pocono. We look, I mean, everyone at 23-11, the cars were exploding at Pocono this year. But the past 3 years for Bubba, we got 10, 11, 10. So, he is performing and at these tracks. And so I think, yeah, he does make it a little bit interesting this week. I'm not willing to stay away from it either, but I do agree. I think he made it a little bit interesting for us this week. All right. So Phil, I'm gonna stick right with you as we go to front row. Like what you got for us?
Well, the annual or the weekly dart throw. So I'm going with Zane Smith here. And I'm anxious to see how you guys do with this. Gilliland had a good run last year, but to me, Zane Smith has been, I don't know, this year. I'm also pulling in Michigan when we're trying to grasp at straws, trying to figure out how to comp with these guys. And we're going to this year, apples to apples, right? Because all these guys were in different, equipment last year for the most part, Zane and Noah. Zane has some good starting positions this year. Pocono, he started 15th. Michigan, he started 10th. Michigan, he finished 7th. So I'm just going to take a shot here and just see what Zane can do. I don't expect a lot out of Zane, but I do think that beating his teammates is possible. So I'm going to go with Zane Smith here. He finished, 17th last year. I think 17th could win this group. So I'll go with my boy Zane Smith.
All right. Well, I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to take this next one, and I'm going to go a little different here. I'm going to take Todd Gilliland. Todd is another guy that I can't quit. I always find myself just, doing something with him. And here's what I'll say about him. He had a great run last year here. Even if the driver rating was pretty mediocre, had a top 10 finish. Again, we want to just look at Pocono really quick. Okay, yeah, he was at the end of it, but they were all at the end of it there, right? I mean, like none of them had a great run at Pocono. And I don't know. It's gut feel as much as anything. Is saying, hey, he had a decent run here last year, so kind of ride with it. But other than my gut, I don't have a whole lot there to support that. So, Tino, what do you got for us? You got something more than your gut?
Honestly, I think that when it comes to my gut and front row motorsports, I think that's what plays the best. Honestly, when it comes to these dart throughs each week, I would say from Phil's standpoint, I also believe that Zane Smith has been the best out of the three, but I'm going with Noah Gragson in this one. He finished 9th here last year, started 21st. Now, I don't remember exactly what happened for him to get that finish. Some strategy had to have come into play because we were looking at Austin Cindric being up there, Daniel Suarez as well. I know those probably the late cautions and overtimes and everything that happened with the late stages of the race, like you mentioned in the start. I'm sure that had an impact on where he's finished, but finished 10th in stage one. And that's where I'm looking for points. If he can do the same sort of thing, or at least him finishing the entirety of the race, is something I'm looking for when it comes to a front row guy, or someone like even a Spire guy when we get there. That's what I'm looking for here, trying to build up points. And once you guys both went different, I knew this was a good opportunity to have a different front row three here like we got. So I'm excited to see who pulls it out here.
Oh, I like it. I like seeing some difference, and as you said, it is a little bit of a dart throw here. So we're just kind of saying, hey, where are we with our guts? All right, so now we start to get into it, right? Now we're into, I think, where we're gonna maybe be different, maybe not be different, but there's certainly a lot to go on here. So I'll start us off with HMS, and I'm going to, I think maybe this is the obvious pick, take Kyle Larson. And he's the defending champ. Do I think he necessarily deserved to win that race? Maybe not. A lot of nonsense there at the end, but he puts himself in a position to win. He was very good here. Again, he's another guy who on these longer, flat tracks just always seems to kind of show up, have speed, have the ability to do it. If I'm just picking a guy out of HMS, I don't think you can necessarily go wrong with any of these guys. I think they all have great history, at this track type and, the performance. So I'm going to take the defending champ on that one and, just kind of call it a day right there. So with that, Tino, I'm going to turn right back to you.
Yeah, we're thinking the same thing here. Gonna go with Kyle Larson as well. I do feel a little more highly about a different driver in the same camp, but we'll talk about him when we get to the big three there. So that's just where I'm at from there. I think Kyle Larson has to be my first choice though when we're talking about him in this track. The way that he was able to win this race last year, it just seemed like it was kind of inevitable in my opinion. Like maybe he wasn't the best driver all day, especially late in the going where it seemed like Brad Keselowski, Ryan Blaney, those two being up there and being as fast as they were on a long green flag run. That's what I believe is going to win this race. But if you have a overtime type situation like we saw last year, once again, you got to expect the 5 team to be up front. And if they are, they can get the win there. Probably I have as much confidence in him than anyone else this weekend. And that may be funny with the next team and Denny Hamlin being on everyone's radar as well. But I'll save my points for Joe Gibbs for the next pick. But I just feel like, I don't know, Kyle Larson, when it comes to winning in the clutch at this track, has done it better than anyone else we've seen recently.
No, absolutely. Phil, we getting anything different?
I'll tell you this. A lot of times I like to go different when you guys go Larson. It's actually benefited me, but I can't do it this time. He's so good at this track and or just kind of in this style of track too. And he mentioned he probably didn't really deserve that win last year, but he started 5th. Mid-race, according to Racing Reference, he was, let me pull that back up. I was looking at that a second ago. He was 22nd mid-race for whatever that's worth. So I don't know if he was fighting back, if that was like a pit road situation, strategy call. I don't know. But he got it done. Like you said, he's in the right spot, right time. And then if you're looking like this year, I'm looking at Michigan and Pocono, and he had good runs at both of those places. So a lot of times, like if I looked at those two races this year and he struggled, that's where I would maybe be a little bit different. But yeah, I think he could run it back. I mean, you look at week ago, right? Denny, defending champion of that race, everything pointing his way. Why would you try to be different? It worked out in Denny's favor. And so I think this is a similar situation. I'm not going to try to be cute here. Larson's the pick.
No need to be cute for sure. And we may come back to these guys. I imagine we may hear about them some more. So, all right. Tino, we'll turn over to you as we head over to our good friends over at Joe Gibbs Racing.
Yes,
Who
sir.
we got from Joe Gibbs?
Well, it's gonna be Denny Hamlin for me in this one. We talked about the comp tracks being Michigan. Denny won there. Pocono looked like he was gonna win, finished P2. And then he's just been really strong at Indy as well. It's actually even funnier to me because only 4 drivers have won 4 crown jewels, right? We were talking about it earlier on the show, or at least Phil was, if we still consider this a crown jewel. Well, maybe some people don't. I definitely do, with it being the Brickyard at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But maybe the only driver that it really cares about it the most, Denny Hamlin. If he wins and becomes the 5th driver to win all crown jewel races, I think we're gonna know that it's Denny Hamlin's. His thought process that it is a crown jewel race. I think the other thing too is that I will mention he has run so strong at this track, but hasn't won here yet. Obviously, I guess I just mentioned that. But my point is maybe this is like a curse for him as well. I don't know, and it's definitely seemed that way when he was leading with I think 2 laps to go and hit the wall when it was Kevin Harvick's year back in 2020. When Brad Keselowski beat him in the last lap, I think that was 2018. My point is, then he's been up there and hasn't been able to get the job done. I feel like this is a chance where he can go out and do it. And the comp tracks that we've been talking about, those high speed, long straightaways, especially the chances to have long green flag runs, I think that's where he is able to get the most out of his car throughout a run.
For sure. I'll grab the next one, and I'm gonna tail right along with Denny Hamlin on this one. He wants it, I think, probably more than anybody. I think he got that right. And if we look at just the intermediate package this year, he has been really, really good. Joe Gibbs kind of had a little bit of a slow start in the intermediate package. The Las Vegas, Homestead, Darlington. I mean, they weren't bad, but they weren't, flying. But then we look at the past couple of races at their, speed. Look at Kansas. In our incident adjusted speed over at Win the Race, we have them 1.55, a mile and a half over the median speed. Charlotte, he was 2 miles over the median speed. Nashville, almost a mile and a half over. Michigan, almost 1.3 over. Dover, obviously just 1, and was a mile over the average. So he's putting together speed at these tracks. It seems like when you just got to put in an engine and make the car go. Gibbs has kind of put that together and got it running right now. So I'm gonna kind of ride with the guy who's there at the moment. So, Phil.
I'm not going to be any different. I really thought about it here, so maybe I'll save that person for later. But I can't. When you're in the lead, now you can kind of play defense, and I've never experienced this, so I'm making it less interesting for those watching. But for all those reasons that you both laid out, I have no more notes for Denny Hamlin. He's that good.
So Phil's you're air blocking us.
I'm air blocking. I'm air blocking. I'm making it not fun. The Jeff Gluck poll on this show might be lower than we would like because of me. But yeah, that and the thing that makes me think about going with somebody else is the win last week. Like I typically personally like to, in certain areas, go against the guy who just won. But I think because of what you just said, Greg, especially like you both have said it, he wants it. This is a different track. If we were going to like New Hampshire or, some other track on and Pocono or like some other track, not Indy, I'd be like, all right, he's not going to really show up again. He'll be good, but whatever. I can't be different here. So Hamlin is where I got to go.
All right. Well, so that you can't air block us, I'm going to make you pick first on Penske then.
Oh, easy, dude. Easy. Yeah, this is great. You're setting me up perfect. It's my guy, Ryan Blaney. I wore the shirt last week. He didn't win, but I did. And so that magic keeps going. Blaney is one where, he's 8-1, I believe, still on certain books. And I think that's well worth looking into, if you haven't gotten a little bit on Blaney. Top 5 number on Blaney might be good, but he finished 3rd last year. He started 7th. If you're looking at the last 5 comps, I'm calling it, so Michigan, Pocono, and Indy since the start of 2024 season, 2nd in driver rating, 3rd in average finish. He has a win, 3 top 5s in that span there, and he finished 3rd at Pocono this year. Just a top 5 would be really good. And the fact that Penske owns this track, like, you better believe that they're going to have whatever little things to say about things. Like, it's going to be seen. And if you look at his teammates, and I'm interested to see if you guys are different here. I mean, there's probably a case to be made for Joey. I'm interested in see if you guys go Joey, but to me, Blaney is like the best of the bunch. He's been consistently good on this big flat style. So he's frisky, like for a win. So I have to take him here to start off Penske's group.
Yeah. So I'll take the next. And I guess, the problem is there's not really, I'm not stopping you from air blocking us because I think that's where a lot of us are. I'm just going to go put Blaney in for me right there. He's unquestionably been the best Ford all year at the intermediate tracks. I don't think anybody's been particularly close to him. And, Dover's not in any way, shape, or form a comp. Like, let's not pretend that it is. But if we just look at last week, he was the only Ford who was there, like, in any meaningful way. Like, Joey qualified up in the top 10, hung out there for a while, but like at the end of the race, the only Ford who was showing us anything was Ryan Blaney. And so I'm gonna go with the guy who just has been the best car in not just Penske, in the entire camp the entire year. It's hard for me to tear away from that. He qualified well here last year, ran well last year. He had a pretty decent run at Dover, so he's going to get to qualify later, probably get a good spot again here. Again, just looking at our, win the race statistics, 5th in true performance scores at the relevant tracks, 5th in incident adjusted speed, 5th in true average running position. He's here. It's the only car that's got the speed that I think makes any sense. So I just got to ride with the guy. So Tino, we're gonna just, block it out again.
Yeah.
Sean McBride is waiting for you, Tino. You know it.
He's in there. He's in the chat. He tells me I know what to do, insinuating this pick has to be Joey Logano, and that's why I'm gonna go with Ryan Blaney here. I'm sorry, Sean, my buddy. I appreciate all the comments. Phil's drinking for you. But yeah, I think the reason is Ryan Blaney should have won this race last year. Like, it's just, to me, it's that simple. He was the best car racing. The fact that he was able to climb through the field the way he was last year. Where'd he start? Give me 1 second here as I pull it up. But I just remember the fact that he was able to pass more drivers than anyone else. So he did start 7th in the race, so not too far back for his standards, as we're seeing him qualify mid-pack usually. But 3rd in stage 1, 4th in stage 2. And to me, I just felt like at the end of that race, he was better than the 5 car. He was better than the 6 car. And he had a strong opportunity to get it done, had all those cautions and whatnot not happen. And the little ending thing where Brad Keselowski lost the tire, Kyle Larson got the lead, all of that. To me, I feel like it was Ryan Blaney's race to lose. So I expect him to win it this year, honestly. Like Phil said, 8-1 is very high, and I'd take that right now.
I think that makes a lot of sense for sure. All right. So now we get to our big three pick. I'll lead us off here. And I think this will be a little bit interesting. It's why we're gonna see some things. Um, I'm gonna take Chase Briscoe in this spot. And here's the thing about Chase, right? He the start of the year, he was just like he was out to lunch. He couldn't figure out what was going on. And then he made those statements. He kind of came out. He said, "Hey, this is different. Like driving this car, the quality of car is just so different that what I'm used to that I'm struggling with it." He seems to have figured it out, and it's been the case. I think the past couple of races we've seen, if Martin Truex Jr. was good at a track right now, we're seeing that come through, and we end up with having Chase Briscoe be good at that track. Now, did Martin Truex Jr. have a great race here last year? No, he did not. But again, did Martin Truex Jr. have great races at the comparable tracks? The Poconos? Yes, absolutely. He was great at that. And so I think we're seeing that come in. We're seeing that ability to, put that together and get there. And so I'm gonna grab me some Chase Briscoe on that, and ride this. This is a guy who's finally figuring it out, and it's putting a whole heck of a lot of speed together. So, all right, Phil, where are we going on this one, my friend?
Well, I mean, hey, you're taking my formula for Chase Briscoe, so I can't go that way. I'm not going to let you air block me here. But I'm going to stick with. I think I know who Tino's taking, and I'm going to let it lie. Maybe we snag that guy later if I'm right. But I'm going to go with. You mentioned a gut feel earlier, Greg. I'm going to mention Christopher Bell, and he was one that I looked at earlier when we were talking about if JGR and should we take Denny or not. I really stared at Bell in that situation, and it's not like he's been great this year on the big flats. 16th to 17th, not great, but looking at his race last year at Indy, starting 18th, working his way up, just like doing what you want to see, just getting faster as the race goes on, just really consistent. And I think Christopher Bell this season is, I think we can all agree, a little bit different driver than he has been in the past. So I'll take Christopher Bell as a shot. I like I said, think Tino's going to go in a different direction and makes this big three pick a little bit interesting. And by the way, Ryan a couple weeks ago was getting absolutely lit up by mosquitoes. I am just getting feasted on right now by mosquitoes. Like if you see me waving, it's not anybody talking. It's because I'm getting roasted right now. So yeah, they must love the Christopher Bell pick.
All right, Tino, close us out on these guys.
Well, Phil was exactly right, and so is Wyatt Watson in the chat. He asked if I'm thinking Chase Elliott, and I am. To me, this is my favorite pick out of all of them thus far. Yes, do I believe Kyle Larson, Ryan Blaney may have better chances to win this race? Sure. But Chase Elliott in this race last year, to me, had so much potential, and he gets hit with a weird penalty early on with like the blend line violation. To me, I couldn't even comprehend that still to this day. Doesn't make sense.
Most passionate we've ever seen Chase Elliott.
Exactly. I love that point there. He's able to rebound, finish 10th after all of that. To me, I think this is his chance where he's finally having positive momentum go his way. I feel like this is a chance where we can see him break out and get a win, but with it coming from good finishes that he's had all year. He's got the points lead now in the regular season. That does matter. This is a chance for him to build on that. And I do like the fact that although he didn't get a top 5 like I wanted him to at Dover, or a top 3, or even the win like he really did deserve after dominating that race, I think he can use that as positive momentum to take into Indy, where he was really fast last year. If it's not any of the top dogs like we mentioned already, Chase Elliott, I believe, can actually win this race.
Ready. Yeah, Brian Elliott is on a little bit of a heater. We're seeing a little bit of something out of him that I think perhaps some people had thought would pass by. see a whole lot of that debate about who's the fourth guy at Hendrick. I mean, we got the clear 1-2, and was Elliott slipping down to that fourth guy even if he was still the most popular? And I think he's trying to put a little bit of that to bed. So for sure. Tino, I'm gonna stick with you as we shift over to our friends over at RFK. Who you got out of the RFK camp?
Well, this was a driver I never really wanted to go back to after he's disappointed me sometimes this year. But with how he raced last year at this track, with how he's won here before, and I that's a big thing. Winning here before, I think, proves to actually be beneficial with the cast of characters that are in the Cup Series right now. Not that many of them have had experience on this track in terms of the next gen era. Obviously, we only had one race there, but having strong performances running up front, it's the same Indy, right? The cars may be different, but it's the same track. That's why I'm going with Brad Keselowski, because that proved to be the difference last year to me. Seeing him and his experience be able to lead laps at this track, be able to potentially win here, and being in the situation where he needs to win to get into the playoffs. We've talked about it before. If I'm looking for a points guy to get a steady top 10, I'd probably go with Chris Buescher, especially on a long track that's comparable to Michigan where he was fast earlier this year. But to me, I think Brad is going to go all out to get that win. I'm probably only looking for Brad Keselowski to be on my draft board here and once again at Daytona later on this year, just because I know he's going to go out all out to get that win to lock him in the playoffs. So, we'll see how it goes with Brad, but I'm a little nervous.
That's an interesting pick. I'll take the next one. I'm going to tell you, I'm going with the obvious one here, and that is going with Chris Buescher. There's not a whole lot to say here. I mean, other than the obvious, he's been very fast at these tracks. If we look at the 11 races that we've had in the intermediate package, yeah, he's been very strong. He's got a really great average finish. He's one of those guys who has shown an ability to finish ahead of where he runs, even if he's not necessarily of having the best day. He has the ability to jump himself up there and get those good wins. So I think that's just where I am with him. I think it's the kind of just grab the speed and hope that it holds, and that kind of some of the silly bad luck that he's had doesn't show up.
Mm-hmm.
So, Phil?
Yeah, it's a tough choice. Honestly, with all three of these guys, Ryan Preece, he's had a good year this year with Pocono and Michigan. So he makes you think, makes me think, as you guys took the other two guys, could I be different here? But looking at how all three of these guys did last year, I got to choose one of these two, Buescher and Keselowski. And I'll say this on my pod this week, I did give out Keselowski for plus money on Bet365 for a top 10. I think it's very, worth it for all the points that Tino made. But for the draft, I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. And it's for most of the stuff that Greg just said. And he's just consistently fast. If you look at Pocono and Michigan, I mean, if we're going to go off of those this year, second and fourth, not too shabby. And then one thing we see last year, if you're looking at the race at Indy, we saw RFK as a company get faster as the race went on. And that was one of the reasons why I thought Keselowski for plus money for a top 10 was interesting, because in the last quarter of that race, he was like fourth in speed rating, or, he got faster. And Buescher was even faster than that. he was a second in the last quarter of that race. So Buescher's minus 160 for a top 10. So it's not that I'm a fraud or anything like that on my pod taking Keselowski there and taking Buescher here. It's that, when we're talking about gambling, it's a little bit different. Plus money for a top 10 on Keselowski, to me, I think makes sense. But if I'm looking for the guy to win this team, like Greg said, he's just been fast. He's been faster than probably, or getting finishes better than he deserves, or what the team's been giving him. And so Buescher's the pick for me.
Righty. As we switch over to Spire here, this was one for me. I'm just going to kind of, Ryan sent me some notes when, he was looking at it, and I was trying to figure out, kind of where I'm going. I'm going to go with what Ryan's got here, and I'm just going to say it's going to be Carson Hocevar. Um, it it's amazing how much speed that car has had, and how many stupid things seem to keep getting in the way of him getting a good finish or getting a good win. Um, I saw somebody, I don't remember who it was on Twitter, something say posted in the races where we've had our girl from England show up. She's actually beat him every single time that they've raced against each other. And you just got to go, how is that possible?
That's crazy.
As much speed as Hocevar keeps bringing to the tracks. Like,
give me the
at
matchup.
some-
Give me the matchup on DraftKings for that too.
yeah, I mean, like, somebody mentioned that in the Win the Race chat, and my response was just, oh yeah, lock of the century, right? Just lock it up, mortgage on it, right? And obviously very kidding about that. Hocevar keeps bringing speed. I don't think that this is a track where he really has to worry about anybody getting him back, right? So I don't think we have to worry about kind of the stupid stuff. Nobody is gonna, at 180 miles an hour, decide that they're gonna, let the wheel go and go into a guy. So I don't think that this is the track to worry about him getting payback. So I think it's safe to say, hey, I'm just gonna ride with the speed, and go from there. So that's where I'm at. Phil, where are you going with our Spire camp?
It's kind of, it's Hocevar is the pick for me, but it's kind of not really because of him. It's because of how the other two are. They're just not that good this year. They're garbage. And Hocevar starts the race well. If I'm pulling that up real quick to see. Yeah, I mean, he had a third place start at Pocono, finished 18th. He had a 14th place start at Michigan, finished 29th. And so, like, he's had speed, like you said. It just seems like his time's coming. I don't think he's going to win this race, but compared to his teammates, I mean, McDowell and Haley, this is a low bar. So I would hope that he'd be able to get this done. And to when I say get it done, beat Haley and McDowell. But we'll see. I mean, that stat with Catherine Lake is crazy. She's not in this one, is she? I didn't look that up. When you said that, I should have been looking that up. I'm getting swarmed. The mosquitoes love the pick right now with Carson.
Yeah.
So she is she is running. She's in the 78 again this week, which is why I specifically mentioned the stat. And you can in fact get a matchup on them. Between the two of them, if you want to go bet on that over at DraftKings, they've got a head-to-head on them. So if you want to go bet on her to beat our boy, you can go make that bet. Tino, you with us?
Well, Wyatt in the chat asked or said that it's time for Tino to go different here. I am not going to go different. I'm going with Carson Hocevar. Just had to leave you guys a little bit of suspense. The reason is I mean, everything you guys said, so don't have to talk about him too much, but finished 12th here last year. That's very important to me because I think he's bringing a lot more speed recently throughout this past season than he had last year. And he's a Michigan guy, I believe. But I feel like he's got some sort of indie ties where I've seen like him be at fever games and things like that, where maybe this could be a track for him. I can see him running up front here, honestly. Like I don't see him getting a win, but top 10 being at plus money right now, looking at Caesar specifically for a plus 150 for a Hocevar top 10. I love that. I really think this is a track where if you're gonna go out, try to be as aggressive as you can. I think no one does that as better than him. Now, that's the other part of things is if he can keep his aggression, and keep it clean. We'll also see if that goes hand in hand. But yeah, I like Hocevar on this one to get a top 10 at the very least, I would say.
All righty. Moving right along then. Not a whole lot left to say there for sure. Phil, for the rest of us, what do we got?
Well, I'll go a little bit different for the, when I say different, somebody that I probably haven't picked all year. I'm going to go with John Hunter Nemechek for my best of the rest.
Ooh.
He was great at Pocono, guys. Like, started fourth, finished sixth. It wasn't a fluke. Like, he did well there. Rough run at Michigan, but I consider Pocono a better, apples to oranges than or apples to apples rather. And last year he had a good starting spot, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he started inside the top 10. He was mid race, he was fifth. I guess I didn't watch the highlights from last year, so I guess he got caught up into it, finished 29th. But knowing what we know about last year's race, like him starting 10th, running in the top 10 for a little bit, might seem at the part of the season last year like that was kind of an outlier, but he's been pretty solid this year. Like I really like what Legacy has done and what that team has done with that 42. So the other thing about this pick, and I'm really interested to see where you guys go with this. I would doubt that you have John Hunter. So I was struggling to find someone to really pull to, which led me in this direction. So it was John Hunter being fast at Pocono, being solid at the start of last year's race, Legacy being stronger overall this year, and less options to choose from this week on the best of the rest. So that's my pick, and I'll see what you guys have to say.
No, that makes a lot of sense. It's funny you say, you doubt we have it. And my notes from Ryan have him as an option here. So I think kind of what you said, there's a certain amount of what do we do? What do we have here in terms of how that's going to play out? I'm gonna not grab that, and I'm gonna go with Ross Chastain. And it's as you said, there's not a lot to pick from here. It's kind of hard to figure out where to go. But what I'm looking at with Ross is a steady improvement at that team throughout the year. They kind of stumbled a little bit out of the gate. I don't think they have the speed they had 2 years ago, but I do think they're showing more speed than they had last year overall. And so I'm feeling more confident about it. If you look at Pocono, he's terrible at Pocono. So it's like, well, does that mean that he's gonna the translate of the terrible over here? I'm going to say no. Again, we look at Michigan. He finished sixth this year. He had a lot of speed. Obviously, won at Charlotte. At Darlington, finished seventh. Texas finished second. So he's showing up with some speed at these kind of bigger tracks where horsepower matters. And so we're going to roll the dice on him and see if he can kind of keep that running and get some more finishes out of him. So, Tino.
All right. Well, yeah, great picks from you two guys. I thought it was funny. Brian in the chat just mentioned, how do we not go with Ty Dillon here, lock in the top 20? Honestly, he did cross my mind. I had to give respect to him just because I believe if they're ever going to do anything to give him the most speed possible, it's going to come in this race. It's going to come in this in-season challenge. Now, to credit to my Team 54 guy, I'm not going Ty Dillon. May the best man win. For money wise, maybe I'll check out the little plus money on Ty Dillon, but no, I'm not going to go any with the in-season tournament guys there. What I'm going to be doing here for best of the rest is going with Josh Berry. I think this is a good spot for Josh. It finished inside, believe he finished 12th at Michigan, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that is correct. Ran inside the top 10 there all day there. And I like him when it comes to these high speed tracks as well, which may be a little interesting to say offhand, right? We know Josh Berry is the short track guy, but I think most times that where he's found his speed, I think of tracks like Michigan. I think of Homestead, Miami, he was fast, Las Vegas. To me, I think this is a good opportunity for them to go out. I'm not saying get a win, but top 10 and showcase that speed that he has brought to these fast, long speedways that we've seen this year. And yes, I know Unfortunately, Sean McBride not loving that pick for me. Was hoping I'd go with Joey Logano. And King mentioned it as well. He's been MIA since the spring. That's fair. He hasn't shown the same speed that we had seen from him to start the season. But I'm gonna stick with it. And Sam Hall also saying that's a weird way to spell Logano. It is, but
we can't take Logano and best of the rest. But
yeah,
maybe next one we'll see.
Stay tuned.
Maybe you're gonna help your boys out here, Tino.
Yeah, there we go. So you guys got to stay tuned to the wild card where we could see a Joey Logano pick. I don't know.
Well, as we move to the wild card, I'll start it, and I am not going to pick Joey Logano. just to be clear. I don't see that. Come back to me when we're at Vegas in the fall, and then then we'll go make our Joey Logano pick when he's got to lock in that win to get himself to the championship and win another one. Because Penske just, has this format apparently figured out. So where I am going to go is I'm going to take William Byron here. And I was looking at some others, considered Chris Bell, considered Chase Elliott, didn't want to duplicate up on the other ones up top. And that leaves me with Mr. Byron. And again, kind of just looking at the same, thing as, some of the others, he just keeps showing up with speed at these, the intermediate tracks and the intermediate package, keeps blasting out there. He's also had like a series of weirdly bad finishes, and none of them have really been his fault recently, right? But he's not had great finishes the past month. I mean, his two best finishes in the past 2 months really are Mexico City and Sonoma, and then he's got a whole bunch of stuff that's in the 20s or worse. But he's kind of slowed down a little bit. But I think we are coming back to kind of his bread and butter strength, this intermediate high speed. Let's just blast out of this. Michigan, very fast, among the highest of our true performance ratings for that one. Again, we look at Charlotte, among our highest there, very, very fast. Texas was maybe a little bit slower down, but still definitely had some speed. Darlington, fast as all heck. Vegas, fast as all heck. So I'm just going to take the guy who I just think keeps winning, keeps doing well, lost the the points lead the past week, and is going to be hungry to get it back, to put something together, to get himself back on top of the points. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Phil so that he finally cannot arrow block Tino at the very end. I'll let Tino kind of get the last move out.
Well, when Tino goes last, it's usually pretty entertaining. So Tino, I'll let you take a few breaths to get ready for your exit here. But I'm going with someone who, the only negative I can find is the fact that they were just weird at Pocono, like just rough in practice at Pocono. But other than that, I think there's a lot to be said for Bubba Wallace this week. Bubba Wallace is my wild card pick. I said that 2311 was a tough situation. And here's the, way that I kind of arrived at this point. The only pick head to head that I gave out on the pod this week was Wallace over Kyle Busch. When the race had that even or fair at -171, that got my attention. I looked into it, started digging into Bubba a little bit, and he's got some decent stats. This season, I mentioned Pocono being horrible, right? That was a weird practice session. Something, the brakes, whatever, it went wrong. But at Michigan, he's good at Michigan, right? Started 9th. Finished 4th. But at Indy, he is one of a few drivers who've got some good experience at Indy, and he has really good finishes. His first start was in 2018. It was not good. But since then, 3 for 3, finishing inside the top 10 with 2 top 5s. Started 17th last year, finished 5th. And all of them, I'm not going to panic if he struggles in qualifying, because all of his starting positions have been mid-pack. So, and some of those starts, by the way, because of what I said in the track preview, we haven't been here in a long time. Some of those were with the 43 car when he was riding for Richard Petty. And he wasn't really lights out back then. Not that he's lights out now, but I would consider his team now stronger than he was riding that 43 car. So this is kind of a horse for the course kind of deal. I know that we talk about that kind of stuff. He was just fast last year overall, and he could be a little sneaky. So Bubble House is one that I'm going to throw here to do it. And maybe I'm feeling a little, I don't know, in first place. I could take a few risks, but I think it's a solid pick. I don't know what you guys think.
I think it's interesting, but we'll see. Tino, what do you got to close us out?
Well, Phil did at the end there. He is in first place, and I'm happy for him. I really am. He's my birthday buddy, draft partner here. I really, Phil's one of my best friends, honestly. But I want to have first place back. I mean, I want to be leading the draft again. And I'm looking at these comments. Oh, bad vibes, Tino getting ready to disappoint. Typical Tino. Oh, Tino's nervous, a lot of pressure. Oh, Phil's getting another refill. Tino, make a smart pick. That's what I'm hearing. Well, I am going to make a smart pick. I'm going to make the pick about the driver who's been running really strong lately. And the driver that Phil has used to his advantage to take the lead away from me. I may love Phil, but I'm not loving being in second place in the draft. I'm getting pretty fired up. So I'm going to take the driver that's hometown is in Mitchell, Indiana, born there on December 15th, 1994. Give me Chase Briscoe. This is my time to get the lead back and use Phil's way of getting the lead from me to my own advantage. Chase Briscoe, we're talking about Pocono being a comparable track. He won there. We're talking about having momentum. He's finished second in the last two races, and this is hometown. To me, I think this is a chance to go out and get the win. I don't care what Sean McBrien's saying. He's saying it's a horrible pick. King's giving me thumbs down. I'm giving it thumbs up. This is where I take my lead back, and this is where I win this week. Shout out Wyatt saying it's a solid pick. I appreciate the guys having my back, and Phil, I hope you enjoy having the lead this weekend. I really do, because it's not lasting for long.
I'll tell you this. I used to play the WWF video games back in the day, right? And there was one of the years you could do you could steal the other person's finisher. Like, if I'm Stone Cold Steve Austin, you just stole the stunner from me. You're hitting me with the stunner, right?
Yes.
So we'll see if it works out. And so did Greg, for that matter. He had him over there in the big
I took
three.
Him back up top. Yeah.
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 So this is big. This is big. Good pick.
The chat's not agreeing with Team 54 says swing and a miss. I already got thumbs down.
No, I caught crap on it earlier when I took him. So, I'm with you. We're getting the heat for it.
Guys having your back, literally one dude. King saying I'm not winning anything with Barry in my lineup. You got this is a tough week for me. But hey, this is what I want. I want this to be a comeback. I want to use all this to my strength, and I'm looking for revenge this weekend. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes, guys. Keep that same energy, because I'll have receipts. I'm starring all. You guys don't know, but I'm the comment guy. I'm starring all these, and when I see you next week, we'll see if I can bring it back up and say maybe I won. I don't know. We'll see. I'm getting fired up.
Well, all right, gentlemen, that wraps it up. So let's just kind of say thank you to everybody for joining us. We appreciate you all being here. We love getting to have the opportunity to talk through this with you all and go through it all. Phil, I'll start off with you. Where can everybody find you? What do you got going on, my friend?
Yeah, I appreciate you jumping in, Greg, and Tino, for bringing the energy as always. The chat's on fire this week. Unbelievable. And yeah, I appreciate everyone jumping in. Full Tank with Phil is the name of my podcast. I put it out earlier for the Cup Series, and I usually put out Truck Series video. I won't be able to do that this week, but I will say, Greg, you've got some great stuff for the trucks that I saw you put out on X earlier this week. So anybody who was interested in the stuff that I had for the trucks, just divert every attention over to Greg, win the race. for trucks this week, and we'll be back at it next time they're around. But yeah, appreciate you, and hope everyone has a good Brickyard 400 weekend.
All right, Tino, where we got you at, my friend?
Yes, sir. Well, Greg, appreciate you filling in as well. Always great time having you on the program here. You can follow me, Tino Patino, at Tino Patino, Pattigno. I'll be on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio and Tubi TV. We're looking at that on Friday morning. I'll also be on Wyatt's been in the chat. That's my guy having my back. I'll be on his show with Through the Gears on Front Stretch. I'll be doing that later tonight, and then you can see that when it comes out as well. There we go. Check it out on there. But I really do have to shout out the chat as well for making it, we're having fun here, roasting me a little bit. I can take the heat, and I appreciate everyone coming at me. It's always a fun time going back and forth. So I'm gonna shout out the guys in the chat, Wyatt, as I mentioned, but Sam Hall, Sean McBride, they're bringing the heat. Brian, Kyle as well. Check out their stuff. Sean McBride wants to come on the show. We'll see if that happens someday. Maybe towards the end of the year, you can get a special guest appearance in. But Kyle, Brian, King in the chat as well. Team 54. Shout out to him. Best of luck to Ty Gibbs this weekend. Excited to see the in-season championship happen. It's been such a great ride seeing all that unfold. And then as we go through it, I know Big Ross was in the chat, Robert as well. Seeing everyone talking to us, communicating, having a good time. If you have any questions or comments, it's always good seeing you guys in here. Lee Norton was in as well. So shout out to all those guys, double Wyatts as well. We had the other Wyatt in the chat too earlier on. Just appreciate anything you guys have to say. Zach McConnell as well. Each and every week you guys bring the heat. So we appreciate that from here and the show at, the draft like we do here. So I appreciate all you guys.
Right. Appreciate it. Folks, I'm Greg Mathern. I'm in here for Ryan as you this week. I'm G Mathern 84 on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it these days. We got all of our stuff up on wintherace.info. Stats that we pull a whole lot of for this week. We hope you all have a fantastic race week. Best of luck to everybody. Be smart on bets, and we will have a good time and see you all next week. Thank you all for joining us.